Hi, Lali. It's very insightful that you mentioned anxiety. So you mentioned between emotion, we need to acknowledge it and do not suppress it. So would you say to cure anxiety is also a process to remove emotion and to control it? And what if we cannot control our emotion?
Thank you, Sarah. That's a good question. Yes. Well, emotion and anxiety and all of those other feelings are part of our life. They will never go away. They are like our shadow, right? They're there to protect us. What we can do is to really deal with these emotions in a more skillful way when we understand where they're coming from. So an emotion arises. Let's say anxiety arose because something has just happened and I haven't been able to study enough for the exam and I'm feeling anxious right now. So that emotion comes also from a thought first. So my thinking that, oh my gosh, I cannot finish I haven't studied enough and I feel uncomfortable and nervous about the exam. So that thought also is then conditioned from way back when, from the time when we were born to about 10 years old with our parents too, right? So parents, grandparents who has put expectations on us. So those expectations may be some things like, if you don't study and if you don't pass an exam, you're not a good person. You're a failure. So those messaging comes from our conditioning way back when, and we carry that baggage with us. All of us carry that kind of baggage. So when I'm thinking that my thought comes that I haven't studied enough, subconsciously I'm also going to my parents judging me and saying that I'm not a good person, I'm not successful if I don't pass this exam, if I'm not prepared. So that's the baggage that you're bringing to that emotion too, right? So you got to realize that that conditioning comes from that age. And then the other part is emotion also is impacted by what you're going to have visually seeing and through the senses at the current moment, right? So all of those things are also going to impact you. So the thought that then comes up, that is informed and conditioned by all of those things from before, and also thinking about the future. What if I fail this exam? What happens? So a whole range of complex thoughts are coming in, and then that thought moves into an emotion, and that emotion becomes, say, anxiety and fear. So if you then take a step back and ask yourself, okay, now what am I actually feeling right now? I'm feeling anxiety, and start bringing it to the surface. And so then asking yourself, and I talked about this earlier, this is a very simple process of asking why 3, 4 times. Why am I anxious? I'm anxious because I feel I haven't studied enough. Why haven't I studied enough? I haven't had time. Why haven't I had time? So like that, you go down to a place where you come to a place where you cannot answer that question anymore. At least what you've done is you've taken that emotion and you have dealt with it, you have talked about it, you have brought it to the surface. You're not allowed it to sit there and mess around with you without addressing it. As soon as you put attention to an emotion, the energy of that emotion starts getting dissipated and moves away. And that's what we're doing. So, as I said, we are emotional beings. There's an emotional agitative energy that's there. What we're doing is by paying attention to it and bringing it to the surface, talking about it, you're taking that energy away from that emotion. You're taking the power away from it because you are now shining a light on it and showing, hey, okay, I see your anxiety. It's not mine. I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to own it. And as I said last time too, the way you voice your opinion about that anxiety is important too. If you say I'm anxious, you've owned it. If you say anxiety has risen as a result of it, you're not owning it. You're actually seeing it as an objective reality. And you can shine the light on it and then slowly dissipate that energy. So the other part of it is some of these emotions can be very stubborn. Our mind is extremely stubborn. They can stay on for a long time. The only thing I can say is to be patient with it. And be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate to yourself as these emotions and fears arise. It's not something wrong with you at all. These are natural things. And that's the other thing that I want to also share with you is to be really, really patient with yourself through all these processes. Any other questions then? I think that somebody, Kiros had a question, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
So my question is, how can I start my day with more energetic way?
That's a great question. See, anytime during the day our minds go on autopilot to clarity and perspective, everything's clear, we feel strong. Suddenly we have a position where we are anxiety. Sometimes, especially in the mornings, we are in a fog, right? Things are not clear. Everything is in a muddle. So one of the things that I do before I even get out of bed, now even in the middle of the night, if I have to go to the washroom, I take 3 deep breaths by rolling my ankles and my hands, my wrists like this, right? Because oxygen is extremely important. So, like breathing in, like that, right? So when you take in the oxygen, you're already putting some energy into your body before you get out of bed. So the other one I do is I lengthen my ankles and I tighten my calf muscles as I breathe in and out. And then I come to the side of my bed. So already now I put some oxygen into my body, because you got to remember, when you're sleeping, your body goes into a very deep level of rest and relaxation. It's normal to have that. So I sit in the side of my bed and I do this, as I said, that exercise I taught you earlier. So what you've done is you're forced yourself, by oxygenating your blood, your heart, you're getting your system going, right? And then I take a first step. As I take the first step is a positive, strong step. I don't stumble and do like that. No, you're setting the intention for the day by stepping forward and my back up straight, and I walk. If I walk to the washroom or whatever I do that, right? So that's the number one thing. The other one is I have a little quick gratitude exercise that I do in front of the mirror, and my children laugh at me when they come and see me doing this. I do like this and I say, it's going to be a great day today, right? And wonderful. And then I do this and I say, I give gratitude. I gratitude for the fact that I'm breathing today. I'm doing well. I give gratitude to my parents. They're no more. They're not living anymore. I say thank you for bringing me to life and giving me a life. My grandmother, who was close to me, and my grandfather, my ancestors. So I start by putting those intentions out there, so physically and mentally. And I've given gratitude for all the good things, my wife and my children, and all the blessings I have, the fact that I'm thinking well, and all the business connections and the opportunities I have, and all of that, I thank and I start. And then I say to myself, my heart is open to receive, my heart is open to give. How can I be generous in helping somebody today? Right? So when you start the day like that, you have no choice but to get energized, because you have a mission for the day. You have a mission, first of all, to be kind to yourself and be good to yourself, but you have a mission also to be kind and compassionate and be generous to others too during the course of the day. So simple things like holding a door open to somebody, thinking about other people first, right? So you're not in your muddled head of thinking of and worried about things in your internal. You're out there watching the world and being present. So that's the way I start the day. And even though the day sometimes goes really horribly bad, things go wrong, people attack me and do things like that, I still have that grounding and I do my exercises. Okay, so that's a simple way of starting my day. All right, so I know there's one more question coming up. So thank you.
Lalith.
Yes, my last question is, you mentioned the power of balance a lot. So can you explain a little bit more, and what does it refer to?
Great. See, everything in life, as you know very well, it's a yin and yang of life, right? The yang is the strong, the tough, the male energy, and the yin is the female energy, which is softer and which is compassion and which is community and all of that. Right now, what we see is a world that has been driven by men for the last 2,500 years, and I'm taking responsibility for it. Us men have ruined the world, because it's been a world of moving through power, testosterone driven, conquering and war and battles and all of that. And we have not honored the feminine, what I call the sacred feminine. We have to honor the feminine and the male energy to have a holistic universe. So right now, all our issues with climate change, issues with the corporations are predators, profit only, money only kind of mentality that people just focus as success as that. Because then they realize when they're getting a little older that money and all the material and all the big houses and the cars that they've had is not going to keep them happy, right? It's too late by then. You have compromised your relationships with your families and friends and all that, stepped on other people to achieve this material wealth. So having that kind of balance is what has happened to the world right now. The imbalance in the world is right now. The poverty, the disparities, the gap between the rich and the poor, all that is a function of separation, not coming together, right? So for me, power balance is, first of all, the bringing the feminine and the male energies together. So compassion and love and all of those things have to complement. Yes, you gotta be brave, you gotta be tough. All of that has to be there, but not this alone, right? So that is where I come from in terms of power balance. And I have way more power when I balance my compassion with my toughness. Yes, I have my toughness. I run businesses. I got to be tough. I got to hold people responsible. I got to go there. I got to do those things. But I also have to be soft with them too. I have to be compassionate and understanding of them too. I cannot push them over the limit by getting them to do things that they don't want to do. I have to understand and feel for them too. So for me, that's a power of balance. So it's an important word that I really like the word power of balance, because power only will come from balance, not from one or the other, right? And I want you to really think about this and inquire into this and really feel that energy from your within too, to understand this concept.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other thoughts? We got a few minutes, I think, to any other quick questions. Few more minutes to answer those.
I think that would be all.
Yeah, thank you, Lalith. So we do have about 10 minutes to wrap up. So in a general question, if you would like to give a advice to the general population, because the students are having a lot of anxiety, stress during the pandemic situation, they are saying something to do with sleep. If we can give a quick advice, and then we can expand it at a later time, since we are having only 6-7 minutes, and then Revati will wrap up today. Thank you, Lalith.
Sure. Thank you. That's a good question, Visita. And I know we brought it up in the group discussions too earlier. So yes, absolutely. So a combination of sleep is an extremely important part of our well-being, but combine that, you need to combine breathing well, eating well, having wonderful relationships, and all of these things have to work together. You cannot have just sleep and have a lousy life out there and eat all kinds of garbage and drink alcohol and all of that too, right? So it's a combination that has to come through, and it also combines with the feelings and the emotions that you have. First of all, you got to be compassionate to yourself. You got to be kind to yourself. All of those things become an important part of the sleep process too, right? So what I say is, if somebody is anxious and is not getting enough sleep, there are a couple of things that you need to look at. First thing is, what's going on in your mind, right? What have you been watching just till before you go into sleep? Was it a horror movie, crazy movie, lots of killing and violence and all of that? That's gonna really mess your mind up, right? Have you been watching the news? Because that messes your mind up too, right? So I stop media. I try my best to stop media, except for on a weekend, can get caught up with my wife to watch a movie till a little later. By about 8 o'clock, and then you wind yourself down. If you're going to bed at 10:30, 11, you have about 3 hours of winding yourself down quietly by reading, listening to music, and having nice conversations, studying a bit, whatever it is, reading, so you're not exciting your mind, right? So that's one of the important things to consider before you go to sleep. The other thing is, if you're anxious about something, if something's going on, something's bothering you, that could be a reason for long-term lack of sleep too. That anxiety is not going away. Is to really try to unpack what's going on. I have a very simple exercise that I do on a daily basis. I ask myself 4 questions. I call it 4 questions of clarity. The first question I ask myself is, I take a deep breath first. What am I observing? So before you go to sleep too, in your bed, you can do this. And as soon as you say, what am I observing? My mind gets quiet, because my mind had been thinking about all kinds of things. It's traveling at 750 words a minute about the past, about some things I got to do today. As soon as I say, what am I observing? I quiet my mind and I get some space. And as soon as I get the space, I notice things clearly, and I notice my body relaxing in the bed. That's the time to see whether you can go deeper into thinking into, or rather inquiring into what's going on in terms of a feeling. You can see what's going on. Are there any feelings that are in my body right now, in my mind right now, emotions that are driving me right now? And if you allow yourself to think about it a little bit, it may arise that, oh yeah, you know what, I am anxious about something. I can feel it in my back, or my stomach is a bit tight. So you recognize it in your body when you quiet your mind down. So as soon as you do that, you're bringing it to the surface, and you can say, okay, then why am I anxious? So I apply a project management tool called the YY tree. You ask the question why 3-4 times. You now given a spotlight to this emotion of anxiety. And as soon as you give that spotlight, and as soon as you take it down a rational, logical path, you take that energy and you start dissipating that energy. So you're bringing the feeling to the surface, and you're putting a spotlight, and you're taking it away. And then you try to figure out, what's my need? Why am I feeling like that? My need for safety, my need for security, my need for certainty, all those things are there. But when you bring it to the surface, you realize that, look, I have no control over COVID. I have no control over what's going to happen outside. I have no control over the weather. So why am I worried about it? So, like that, you unpack your mind to free it. And I also have a list by my bedside. If I have something to do, if I even have something to put down as a feeling, I write it down. You're taking the power away of it. So then you free your mind and body, and you can rest easy and go to sleep. A couple other things that I do. Knock your Wi-Fi off if you can. Don't keep your phone by you, because EMF is one of the worst things for sleep, right? You'll never get to deep sleep if you have EMFs going. Knock your phone off or put it on airplane mode. If you're charging the phone, charge it outside, because there's other electromagnetic energies also that come in to the system. So a whole range of things. Make sure your room is completely dark. There's no light encroaching. There's quietness. And the temperature of the room, normally you have better sleep, they say, when the room is a little colder. So 20 degrees or lower can be a good way to sleep, right? As long as you're under covers, right? So these are the combination of things that to think about. But the other thing also is, if you're not sleeping, don't get angry with yourself. That is not going to help you at all. That's going to take you in another spiral. Just be gentle and say, okay, I'm not sleeping. What's going on? Focus on your breath. Focus on your thoughts, and look at your mind as if you're watching a TV. And after a little while, it'll get tired of it. Because if you put energy to it by resisting and getting angry, you're going to still continue to be agitated, and you're not going to be able to sleep. The whole idea is to have compassion to yourself and just say, okay, it's okay. I will sleep when it comes. There's a natural process going on here. I'm not going to fight against it. So it's going with the flow, right? That's most important. Just 2 minutes left. I'm an ocean swimmer. I swim a lot in the ocean. Unfortunately, in Ottawa, I don't get to do it, right? I get caught in currents a lot. And the main thing is, as soon as you get caught in a current, if you fight it, you lose your battle. You got to learn to go with the current a little bit, and then find the edge of the current and get out of it. And you see land, as soon as you panic, you're in trouble. As soon as you go into emotion, you're in panic. So you train yourself to go with the flow with anything that comes, rather than fighting it, and slowly working with it and going out of the way. So that's the same thing you need to do with your emotion, by being patient with your angry feelings and anxieties that are coming up, and see, what is it? Why is this coming up, and assessing it at a logical, rational level. So once again, wonderful questions, and it's been such a pleasure to be with you here today. Visita, thank you for coordinating all this, and wish you all the very best. I trust that this is not the last time we meet. Please feel free to ask me further questions by email. Visita can share my email with you all. I'm always happy to help somebody who's willing to learn. All right. So all the very best. Have a wonderful day and stay safe and stay brave. Be gracious and be generous and be kind to yourself. All right. Take care. All the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.